Number two, evolution number two, robots will replace us or AI. Become irreplaceable. Now, we've talked about this, we've touched on this, and this is number two because it is the most important. I couldn't decide. It's like there's nothing more important than knowing yourself and choosing your thoughts, because otherwise you're just going to be an automaton from the colonized thinking of the world. So that's bad. But then I'm like, but right now, if you don't become who you really are, you're going to be replaceable. And this is not hyperbole. It happens in every evolution, every industrial revolution. And you have something in you that is irreplaceable. The world can't copy it. An algorithm can't copy it. Where there is no vision, the people perish, as it says in Proverbs. It doesn't say they have a bad day. It doesn't say they don't lose those last 5 pounds. It says they die. And if not literally, they become the walking dead. You wonder why we have so many zombie movies and TV shows? We're already living it. It's in the zeitgeist. People have lost their way. People have lost themselves. People have been outsourcing themselves for so long. They've given everybody a piece of their mind for so long, they don't have a mind left. And so we have to become irreplaceable again, which is in and of itself virtuous. And AI and robots and all that, you already know it's coming. As I said, the hyperscalers' mission is replace all human labor, which does not mean just labor. It means replace every single function and utility a human being can do that has in any way, shape, or form an economic value, which is most things. Now, there's a lot of things that don't have economic value that if we become irreplaceable, they will start having an economic value, like loving and serving and tending to animals and orphans and the planet and caring for one another. What if that became part of the GDP? Right? That's what's possible in a new renaissance, but only if we're being and bringing who we really are. Your life code is the one program it cannot replace. That's the seed pattern planted in you before you were planted in your mother's womb. It holds a purpose only you can fulfill. It's woven through your unique journey, your wounds, your gifts, your embodied wisdom. And when this code is embedded in your words, your work, and your world, you become one of one, singular, irreplaceable. Even if you don't have all the answers or know how to do it right, when you activate it, it resonates like a homing beacon to those who carry the same code. Again, it's not theory. When I started off, I was broke, I was broken, I was clueless about how to live my purpose. But when I tapped into this pattern that I saw in a near-death experience, you don't have to die to see it. I can show you how. My whole life began to emerge, not by force or mere trendy strategies, but naturally, the way life and
Hi,
nature
Buddy.
intended it to. I didn't have a list. I didn't know tech anymore. Hello. I didn't have partners, but I had my life code. And I spoke from there. I began to live from there, think from there, even and especially when it was hard and scary. And it built in me this character of success, the inner capacities. And when all the experts said, and they did, many who are my partners now, I could never succeed being who I really was with this spiritual stuff. You needed to pick one of the four large categories, blah, blah, blah. Nope, can't do it. And this is what you got to do. Do it my way. I'm like, who are you, my dad? That's literally what he said. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it my way. Right. So they said I couldn't do that, being who I was authentically, not fitting their molds. And I defied them all, and I broke the molds, and I broke through faster and bigger and more financially successful in my first few years than I did it quicker than they had done it in their journey. Okay. So this is not airy fairy. This is not spiritual pie in the sky. This is actually how we're designed to live, without sacrificing our true values or abandoning our true self again. Who here wants that? That's in you. The world didn't give it to you, so it can't take it away. But you have to remember it, reclaim it. And at the end of this, I'll show you how. But to start, I want you just to take a moment and think, just so you can start to get a taste. Think of what feels like one of the biggest recurring challenges in your life story. Perhaps it's not feeling good enough or worthy. I saw some of those. Believing you had to compromise or people please, step over yourself, step over your voice, stuff your voice, go along to get along. I want you to just take a moment and become aware of that. It's happened more than once in your life. It's like, might even feel like a chronic challenge you bump into almost every time you're about to go or take your life to the next level or deal with something in a relationship that matters. Take a second and become aware of that. Really do this, people. It can be alchemized right now. And now, hidden inside that wound, which the core wound is a lie that you were forced to believe in order to survive. That's the core wound. You had to believe a lie. But hidden in that core wound is your life's deepest wisdom. You don't have to overcome it anymore. You just have to understand and honor it, hold it, see the gift in it. See how my feeling of not feeling enough actually caused me to develop the capacities to get more, be more, but also other deeper gifts that now I understand what it feels like to not feel enough. And I no longer have to not feel that way. I have to understand that hidden in my wound is my deepest wisdom, hidden in the mess, right? The message is in the mess. That's the story. The fact that you're here right now on this call engaging where billions of people aren't or couldn't be or were too afraid to be or couldn't make time to be or whatever means you've already overcome so much. But again, the way the ego works, you're still somewhat thinking from the old self, even while you are someone different already. There's already a journey you've lived where most didn't overcome that, or some didn't. You survive when others didn't. You thrive in areas where others are barely surviving. You carry already with you this embodied wisdom, but you've been taught a message that you shouldn't feel scared, ashamed, guilty, doubtful, afraid, unworthy. You have to first not feel unworthy, not feel scared, not feel uncertain. Then you can teach. Then you can write. Then you can preach. Then you have something to value. It's bullshit. It was never the fact. You've always been a teacher, a leader, an artist, a creator with value in you to give right now. Now, maybe you were 3 and you knew how to tie your shoes and your brother didn't. Well, you were the thought leader for your brother right there. You see, it's all relative. So I want you to be aware of that. You're already enough. Now, you still do need to decode this. There is still a process to make sense of what seems senseless, to find the meaning and the message in the mess. But you already have it. There's, you can post the challenge. I see some of you doing that. Post what the core challenge is, and also post what is the potential wisdom and how might it benefit others if you shared it. I had somebody the other day on a class who was wanting to be a speaker. It's all she wants to be, but then every time she goes to speak, she feels like she can't quite get it out of her, and then she doesn't do it again. And I said, now tell that story as if you're telling it to an audience who also struggles with speaking. And she started telling, and then she had to get up and plug something in, and she's talking into the camera, and we're just wrapped. I'm like, there's your YouTube video. You just did it. You just did your TED Talk. It was vulnerable, it was raw, it was real, but she was speaking from and about it rather than just lost and caught in the identity of it. You follow? You follow? And so I'm not saying when you're falling to pieces, you should get on and share how oh, my life sucks, help me. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about turning your wounds into wisdom, your pain and problems into a legendary purpose because they already have that. The workshop you've been living is the one you're meant to be giving, or it's the code that's meant to be embedded into your art, your creativity, your coaching, your healing, whatever, or your business, right? Steve Jobs did not sell phones. People didn't wait in line to buy a phone. They waited in line all night to answer their call. Think different. Break with the status quo. That's what he was selling, the phone. He went through the struggles, challenges as a child, all kinds of problems. I forget the details right now. And he had to learn to think different. Oprah wasn't doing a talk show. She was doing church. And her sermon was to all the women that had been abused or overweight or didn't feel like they were good enough and unworthy. You matter and you can live your best life anyway. Harley Davidson didn't sell motorcycles. They sold the value set of break out of the matrix, get off the grid, say, screw you to the man, you can be free again. That's the life code, and that's in you. And when that's in your work, even though you can use AI to do this, that, or the other, and people can use AI to print up workshops, they're not going to be able to do that. And when that's embodied in you through a process that I'll show you, you're going to be the medicine. Like right now, some of you know me, some of you don't, but I flub my words, I make jokes, I'm a little kooky, you know, but if there's something resonating with you, it's not because I've got the right perfect words, although I love words. It's because there's a frequency, there's a presence, there's a medicine, there's a lived and embodied wisdom that has been forged through the fires of my own transformation. That's the real gift and the communication you're receiving right now. It's why people get healed in my community. It's not because I'm a healer, and people have been healed of all manner of things that they've struggled with their whole life, not just mentally and emotionally, but physically, financially, relationally, all the way down the line. But it's a frequency. AI can't do that. This is your moat. This is your differentiator. Now, I'm not telling you got to be a master. You don't. You just have to be yourself. You just have to be authentic. You just have to know yourself, think for yourself, and be yourself.